In this video, we are going to take a look at the midpoint theorem in grade 10 geometry, and we're going to use it in different examples. Now, before we get started, the midpoint theorem. Now, what does that actually tell us? Well, it tells us that if we have a triangle and the midpoints of these triangles, so let's say this is point D and F, and in order for it to be a midpoint, they say if the line connects the two middle points of the lines, then DF would be parallel to BC, and DF would also equal a half of BC. So if it is given that AD is equals to DB and AF is equals to FC, then we could conclude that DF would be parallel to BC and DF would equal a half of BC side. And our reason there would be midpoint theorem. Alright, now that's option 1. We have an alternative. It has a cousin that means exactly the same thing. Alright, so option 2 would say if it connects halves. So remember, this is DF. Now if that is the same as that, yes, and these two are parallel. So if AD, if it is given that AD is equal in length to DB, in other words, D over here is the middle point of AB, and it is given that DF is parallel to BC, then we can conclude that AF would be equal in length to FC. Alright, and this is not just midpoint theorem, this we would say line from midpoint and parallel second side. Alright, that's what we're working with. That is our midpoint theorem. Now, I have prepared 3 problems for you, and they are going to range from easy to fair to difficult. Now, let's go through this together. Okay, so we are given a triangle ABC firstly, and they say here QP is parallel to CB. So QP is parallel to CB. Okay, that is indicated on the sketch. And AS equals SR. So AS equals SR. Okay, that's given. They're equal in length. Can you see your triangle theorem forming here? We have the middle point and parallel. Alright, then they give you some extra things. QC is equals to 6. That's not written. So when things are not written on the sketch, please write them on 6 meters. Alright, CR, so CR over here is equals to 4 meters. And then SP, this little side over here is equals to 4 meters. Then they also say this is 110 degrees. Alright, and our first question says determine the length of AC. So they want the whole thing of AC. Now remember, this video is based on the midpoint. So let's use the midpoint theorem to get there. We can immediately say that AQ is equal in length to QC. Why? I'm telling you that this is happening. Why would that be? Well, our reason would be line from midpoint parallel to second side. Alright, that's the midpoint theorem. It's the option 2. And we saw that QC was 6 meters. That means, therefore, AQ would equal 6 meters. And what did the question ask for? AC. Now, I did promise you this question was easy. So we can see that AC is equals to AQ plus QC. We don't need a reason for that. It's simply, you see, AC is equals to the lines that are based on it. So there's no need for a reason there. So therefore, AC is equals to 6 plus 6 equals 12 meters. Alright, let's step it up. The fair level question, we're going to use the same diagram, same introduction for this. Alright. And just remember, here we had 6. We just proved these two are equal, meaning this was also 6. And what else is given there? 4 and 4. So we had 4 meters and 4 meters, and this was 110 degrees. meters and meters. Okay, cool. Now they say show that triangle ABC. So ABC is isosceles. What do they want to see? They want to see, are the legs the same length? Alright, so let's just quickly summarize. We said AC over here was 12. Now, an isosceles triangle either has legs that are the same length or angles that are equal. We have this 110 degrees over here. So we could go and try and solve these two. But that's just a mission. What we can alternatively do is we can look for the midpoint theorem like the video would suggest. Sneak, hint, hint. And we can say that, okay, so let's check if we can get this whole side length. Or RB. Do we have the midpoint? Well, yes, we've got this midpoint theorem here. We know these two sides are equal, and we know these two sides are parallel. So we can actually say, okay, hold on, if this is the midpoint, and these two sides are parallel, then this is equals to this. Or we can also say, because of the midpoint, this is a half of that, meaning RB is 8. Alright, so let's go and write that down. What we can say is it's given that SP is parallel to RB. That's given. Okay, so what we can say then is AP is equals to PB. Why? Again, same reason. Line from midpoint parallel to second side. And what we can then say, okay, cool. That means these two are equal in length. Now we have a line connecting the two midpoints. So we can say SP is equals to a half RB. If I can just show you here, we're working in this triangle and we just applied the midpoint theorem. Now because we use the midpoint theorem there, we can write midpoint theorem. Alright, and well, we know SP is 4, so 4 equals a half RB. Getting RB alone, we multiply both sides by 2, so 8 meters equals RB. What did they ask for? They want to see the triangle is isosceles. Alright, so we've given 8 meters here. Can you see 4 plus 8 equals 12? So we can say, therefore, CB equals 8 plus 4 equals 12 meters, and then we can quite simply conclude, therefore, triangle ABC is isosceles, and our reason there would be equal sides. Okay. For our final example, we are going to take a look at the following. Now this is classified as difficult, but it's between fair and difficult. It's not too hard once you see what is required of you. So let's go through all the information together. They say given here is AB is equals to BC is equals to CD. So AB equals BC equals CD. Then they say AP is equals to PG. So AP equals PG. Do we see our midpoint theorem? Alrighty, let's carry on reading. OPG, so this should be angle OPG and is equals to OGP. Did I miss something? Yes, I did. Skipped a step here. CG over here, CG is parallel to DR. So those two are parallel and it's indicated with that arrow. Now, OPG, so O, this is OPG, so that angle is equals to OGP, which means we have an isosceles triangle. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Those are equal in length. Alright, and then they say, cool, and OG is equals to 15 centimeters. So let's just write this in, 15 centimeters. Cool. Now they want you to find the length of DP. Now DP is the diagonal of this parallelogram. Am I right to say that? Okay, I said that to confuse you. We do not know that BDRP is a parallelogram because it's not given to us. So we cannot assume we're working with a diagonal of a parallelogram and this is equals to that because it's a parallelogram. No, we cannot assume that. Now this video is based on the midpoint theorem, so let's try use that to find the length of DP. Well, we can start off by writing what we know. Alright? We know that OG would equal OP, and that would be what? Sides, it's an isosceles triangle, right? So sides opposite equal angles. And then we can say, cool, so OP is equals to 15 centimeters. But they want DP. So, given that we're working with the midpoint theorem, let's focus in triangle DPB over here. Now, we can see we have a side and a side that's parallel. Okay, so we're in trouble. We're in trouble because we have the wrong sides that are parallel. I mean DR and that, but I want to focus in DPB to get these two equal to each other. But what do we know? We know that we have this is equals to that and that is equals to that. So we can prove that these two sides are parallel. So let's do that quickly. We can say BP is parallel to CG. Why? Midpoint theorem. Remember, it is the first one we discussed today with a line connects the two middle points here. Alright, so let's just quickly put that in. There's our arrow and our arrow. Now, you don't have to write this, but I'm going to for the sake of the video. I want to focus in triangle DPB. And I want to prove that DO is equals to OP. Alright, and I can do literally that. So DO is equal in length to OP. And what would my reason be there? Line from midpoint parallel second side. Alright, and from there, well, from there we can simply say that DP is equals to OP plus DO. And we said yeah, OP was 15 and DO is that, so it's 15 plus 15 equals 30 centimeters. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe and share and become part of the Whiteboard family.